Drought, extreme heat, and decades of fire suppression have created larger and more frequent wildfires, which are detrimental to our health, economy, and environment. What strategies would you implement as Public Lands Commissioner to prevent wildfires and engage communities on wildfire prevention?
Well, wildfire prevention and response needs to be a top priority, not only for public safety, but also for our public health. The smoke a lot of us have experienced from recent wildfires creates health risks, and it does so disproportionately on already marginalized community members. And that's why we need to do more to continually improve our prevention efforts. We need a greater emphasis on things like prescribed burns and non-commercial thinning of trees to not just manage wildfires, but also the health of the forest. These things can involve cropping lower branches and clearing forest debris. In fact, in some places in eastern Washington, cattle grazing with cows can even be used as a tool to help clear out the overgrowth and reduce fire risk. And all of this forest health work can be such a win-win-win because it prevents wildfires, but it also improves the health of the forests. And sometimes the material you pull out, called biomass, can be used to make energy, or the small trees that you thin out can be used to make innovative building products, such as a material called cross-laminate timber. And to do more of this work, we need to reduce some of the barriers. And I think those are making sure we have the training at the local level and support with some increased dedicated funding and capacity for training. I also want to expand this forest health work into Western Washington. It's only in Eastern Washington. And I also want to continue to learn from indigenous communities because Native Americans have managed these lands for generations. And finally, I think it's important to recognize that this sort of ecological resilience goes hand in hand with what I call community resilience. We need to keep providing grants to community organizations that work on making the community safer and more resilient. They do things like wildfire risk assessments, trainings and educational events, developing wildfire protection plans, localized ecological forest health work, fire smart landscaping. So I want to convene all of those community partners, particularly those that represent vulnerable populations and who are currently doing the work in this area, such as the Latino Community Fund, and help join them in co-creating a more robust and developed responsive way of making sure our communities are resilient. But finally, at the end of the day, I'm going to support the fire chief at the Department of Natural Resources and use my experience in the state legislature to fight to get them the resources to do their job. Public safety and public health demand it.
That was an important question. So we now know that we've had more forest fire activity, more fires in Western Washington, which is commonly called the wet side of Washington, than ever before in recorded history, even more than in Eastern Washington. And so we know that the threat of fires is upon us all over the state and quite frankly, all over the West. Things are getting warmer, our forests are in disrepair, and they need us to help them sustain through this. So fighting fires is a big part of it, making sure that we have the trained staff, the ready staff, in collaboration with the communities where the fires are happening. You know, up until this time, it's really primarily been Eastern and Central Washington. They have hotter, drier forests and summers. And fire doesn't know a political boundary. It's neither Republican nor Democrat. It hits all these communities the same, and it causes devastation. It emits tons of carbon into the air, drives up the cost of home insurance or insuring your business. So the economic loss is significant and the habitat loss is significant, right? When a forest burns unnaturally through one of these hot super fires, it can actually scorch the earth and impede regeneration that would take place under a normal, more natural fire. So these fires, these catastrophic fires, are hurting us all. And we also know that the smoke from these fires is impacting everything from women's fertility to vulnerable and young populations, to seniors. We know it's taking years off the lives of people here in Washington state. So fighting those fires to me is paramount. So that means making sure that the funds continue to be in place to support our first line responders, to make sure that we have the aerial craft that we need to fight these fires, that we are working in collaboration with each local community directly to make sure that they have the equipment, the training, and the tools that they need. In addition, we have to stop these catastrophic fires from taking over. How do we do that? We manage our forests for their health. Our current commissioner has done a great job. In Eastern Washington, she's put together a collaboration. She's gotten the money to fight the fires, but she's also put together a diverse group of folks, tribes, conservationists, landowners, ranchers, grazers, together to come up with a plan to do the forest health work before the fires start. And they're about halfway done with their Eastern Washington forest health goal. I want to bring that collaborative effort to Western Washington. Where we are now starting to see more fires than even in Eastern Washington. We need a collaboration agreed upon through a desire to protect and sustain that will allow us to do the forest health work so that these fires are not catastrophic. Natural fires can be healthy and good for the ecosystem, but the fires that we're experiencing that are releasing this carbon, that are decimating habitats and landscapes, they are unnatural. If we reduce the things that are causing them, the overcrowding, the dead and diseased trees, the underbrush, the hazardous fuels. And if we're creating natural breaks within the different forest systems, we're going to see a return to a more natural fire that is not causing this devastation and heartache. I want to bring that collaborative approach and that planning to Western Washington so that we can help our forests and our trees sustain, not just for our generation, but for generations of Washingtonians to come. I want to make sure that we continue to be the evergreen state. Thank you.